What is going on, guys? I'm catching up on the comments over here. Yes, I know I looked like I was sleeping. I promise I wasn't. I know I'm running a couple minutes behind here. I got a phone call literally 30 seconds ago from my boss's boss's boss, so I kind of had to take it. Also, just so you guys know, I hope this doesn't happen, but FedEx is supposed to drop off a package for me here in a little while. They were supposed to drop it off this morning, but unfortunately they didn't show up yet. So just my luck, they're probably going to show up in like 5 minutes. And it's one of those like signature required ones. So it's either leave you guys hanging or not get my package. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully they show up after we're done here for the day. Hope you guys are all doing good. I'm trying to give it a couple minutes here to let the people trickle in. If you haven't noticed yet, I woke up this morning with a cough. I don't know what the deal is. I think one of my kids brought something else home. My son came home from school the other day coughing, and here I am already coughing. So I think I need to like start taking vitamins or something. My wife keeps telling me to take vitamins, but I haven't started on it. It's one of those things that, you got to be one of those health conscious people, and it's just not me. So I'm over here drowning it with a Coca-Cola. So it'll make everybody feel better. So let's see here. I'm catching up on everybody. We got people in Panama. We got Dallas. I saw someone in England over there. People all over the place checking in. Let's see here. Yeah, I know. I was sick for the last one. I know. I'm sorry. It's terrible. But if you guys have kids, you know that how it works. So let's see here. FedEx will deliver to the wrong place. That's very likely what's going to happen. It happens quite often around here. So anyway, I want to give a couple shout outs here. One of these guys I know told me already that he won't be on here. The other one, maybe. If you guys recall from Sun and Fun a couple months ago, I met a young man. He was 16 at the time. His name was Jet. He was working on getting his private license. He soloed on his 16th birthday, and he was shooting to get his private license on his 17th birthday, the minimum age. And I did hear from him a couple months ago that he did pass his check ride on his 17th birthday. So congratulations, Jet, on that one. Last I heard, he was shooting to do his commercial ride on his 18th birthday. So he's got a little bit of flying to do. We've been in contact a few times, and if I get out to his neck of the woods, we're going to go flying. So hopefully that happens at some point. And the other one, Clyde, also, I got an email from a guy named Clyde about a week, maybe 2 weeks ago, also passed his private pilot check ride. So congrats to both you guys. Get out there and go flying. If the FAA ever asks you about something, if you ever get in trouble with the FAA, do not tell them you learned it from corporate pilot life, please. That's all I ask. So, but go have fun, stay safe, and keep the shiny side up. Let's see here. I did a video right after I got back from Oshkosh here a couple weeks ago that I was doing a sale on the merchandise, the hats and the shirts and all that stuff. So I did that. It has been very successful. A lot of people took advantage of that sale. It's actually still up because I was out of stock on some of the shirt and hat sizes. So I wanted to leave it up until I got a resupply on some of those sizes. So they're all resupplied right now. If you guys have been waiting for your size to get in, I think the large size hats I was out of for a little while. So if you want to pick up some of those while the sale's still going, I'm going to leave it up for a few more days. Let everybody have a chance to take advantage of those sale prices to get them your way. So yeah, check it out, livecpl.com. You can click on the swag link up in the top right, and I'll get it headed to you as soon as possible. Let's see here. One of the big questions that I've been getting a lot lately is, what do I prefer flying, the G4 or the Hawker? That one, it's pretty tough. They both fly. The Hawker is a little lighter on the controls, feels a little more like a sports car. You can kind of throw it around a little more, where the G4 flies kind of like a dump truck. But as far as operating the airplane and the missions that we do for the two airplanes, I really like flying the G4. The G4, we go to more exciting destinations, if you will. We do more of the Europe stuff, the vacation spots, where the Hawker tends to be more of the business traveler, getting to their meetings, up and down the East Coast typically and stuff like that. So less exciting flights, but definitely more flying on the Hawker. So they both fly great. I enjoy flying both of them, but I am partial to the Gulfstream. It's hard to get me away from that G4, that's for sure. So yeah, I'm going to do a little video on that. I've had a lot of people asking for a comparison between the two. So I'm gonna plan to do something like that here in the near future. Do a full video comparing the two airplanes, platforms, and operations between the two. So hang tight, and I will get that to you guys here shortly. Let's see. One thing that haven't really talked to you guys about, haven't put it out there, not for any reason, just hasn't come up. About 8 months ago, our Alarion director of safety decided he wanted to retire. And I think he made up his mind a little while before that he actually wanted to retire. He just never did it. He never pulled the trigger on it. He's been with the company a long time, had a very successful career as a pilot and then the director of safety with us, but it was time for him to retire. So he put out, or the company put out an ad for anyone internal or external that wanted to apply for it. And I said, you know what? I think I would like to apply for that. I'd only been with the company about 2 months, so it was kind of early for me to be looking for a promotion, if you will. But I went in, chatted with the people above me, if you will, and they said, hey, send us a resume. Let's see what happens. I guess I impressed them. I was up against some pretty stiff competition, is my understanding, but I guess I impressed them because they offered me the position, and I did take it. This was back in March, I think, maybe February, something like that. So for the past 6 months or so, I have been they've changed it from director of safety to safety program manager. I'm not a director, I'm a manager now. So I've been filling that role for about 6 months now. Gone to a few different training events throughout the country on how to be a safety manager. There's a lot to it, a lot more than I ever thought there was before. But it's very interesting stuff. So I get to do the internal audits and external audits, which I'll get to here in just a second. I get to do all of the hazard reports. We do have an ASAP system. For those of you in the industry, you may know what the ASAP process is. It's kind of like the NASA reporting system, similar. So I get to do a lot of that kind of stuff. The reason I'm telling you this is to tell you that if the videos have slowed down a little bit, that's part of the reason why. There's a lot going on the backside. It's been really great for the career. It's been great for me. It's been great for the family. So I'm really enjoying it, but I apologize if the videos have slowed down a little bit because of it. So we'll try and keep the pace going like we have been. I've been trying to get you guys obviously a Tech Tuesday video each week, and then at least one more video throughout the week to keep you guys going. But bear with me if that doesn't hold true for every week. So I will do my best. As far as the audits that I told you about, we actually just did our Argus Platinum audit last week. This is my first audit that I've ever been through. Alarion is an ISBEO Stage 3 company. Only a handful of charter operators out there are ISBEO Stage 3. It's pretty hard to achieve. But that happened long before me. We are, like I said, we're Argus Platinum. And our re-up for the Argus Platinum audit was last week. We got about a month's notice on that. So I was pretty nervous going into it, but it went really well. We sailed right through it. Not so much because of me, but because of the people before me setting us up for a really great system here at Alarion. So I feel like I did my part to maintain that, and I've got to continue doing so, obviously, to keep it going. But it went really well. Everybody in the room has been very happy with the audit, the way it went. It's not just me, it's, also the operations department, the maintenance department, the chief pilot's involved with it. They interview pilots and they run scenarios with our dispatch team. It's a pretty big deal. It took 2 days to go through the whole scenario. And they really couldn't find anything wrong with our system. There was a couple of recommendations for things coming down the line for future changes. They kind of gave us a heads up on things that we can do to get ready for those, but they were very happy with us. So they're happy, I'm happy. So yeah, it's been going really good on that. Let's see here. The other thing, I had a really cool thing happen 2 nights ago. My neighbor, they have 2 kids the same age as my 2 kids. So they invited us to go out for ice cream on Saturday night. We took them out to this really, open area, kind of a public park area. They have some shops and ice cream, obviously, and stuff like that. So we took the kids over there and we're hanging out. And my phone dings, and it was one of my, I have one of those Arlo home security systems, and it was one of the notifications that there was movement on my front porch. Now this happens from time to time, if a bug flies in front of the camera or something, it's going to detect the motion. It sends me a text, hey, something's on your front porch. So out of curiosity, I always check it to see what it is. It was not a bug. Now, if you guys follow me on Instagram, you may have already seen this video. If you haven't, go over to Instagram, Corporate Pilot Life Instagram page, and check it out. Something was walking around on my front porch, and I'm still not sure what it was. Some kind of, everybody on Instagram either thinks it's a chupacabra, which I don't really think that's probably the case, but it does seem that may be likely. or a hairless fox seems to be the next most likely answer for what it is. I still haven't really identified it. It's kind of looks like a hairless dog thing with a long tail. Like I said, no hair on it. Very strange, but it hops into the bushes out in front of my house and, you know, kind of disappeared off the camera. It's all in night vision, black and white, so it's kind of hard to tell. But if you zoom in on it, it's pretty interesting. So check it out. Tell me what you guys think it most likely is if you haven't seen it already. You know, maybe we can get to the bottom of this, but I'm in a neighborhood. It's not like I'm out in the woods or anything like that, you know, but I do know there are foxes in the area. So perhaps that's what it was. I don't know, something kind of interesting and different. So let's see here. That's most of the info stuff I wanted to get out for you guys. So as always, we're going to do a little bit of Q&A here. Bear with me while I read down these questions and see if we can find some good stuff to talk about. All right. I knew this one was going to come up and I didn't put enough thought into it. Comments of the Dale Earnhardt crash. I see multiple questions on this one. So anyway, the Dale Earnhardt crash, it kind of hits home for me. I used to follow NASCAR pretty heavy. Yes, I grew up in Texas. Yes, I was a redneck. And yes, I followed NASCAR. Dale Earnhardt Sr. was like my idol. I have a picture of me that's back in my room somewhere back there. I think I was like 6 or 8 years old getting Dale Earnhardt Sr.'s signature on an old hat, and I was ecstatic about the whole thing. So it kind of hits home to me that his son was in this accident. Fortunately, everyone was okay. I believe it was Dale Jr., his wife, their kid, and their dog, and then the 2 pilots, obviously. Everyone has survived, and my understanding is they just went off the end of the runway. I haven't read too much details on the cause of it yet. A good buddy of mine was over at the house last night, and he told me that it just seems like they may have just, I hate to say screwed up the landing because I don't know yet, but he's under the impression that they may have porpoised the landing, maybe hit the nose wheel, and caused a loss of control and skid to a halt. And that's what ultimately caused the wreckage. I'm going to dig into it a little bit more, and I'll see if I can do maybe a tech video explaining what happened to the best of my knowledge. So bear with me on that. But I don't really have a whole lot of information at this time. So I'll see what I can find on it, though. Let's see here. Burke asks, is the pilot shortage real in your opinion? Some say it is, while others disagree. I definitely agree that there's a pilot shortage on the way. Right now, there is definitely a shortage, not quite as massive as a lot of people think, I suspect. But the reason I see that is because in interviews, we actually interviewed for a new pilot last week. And it's turning into a situation where the pilots are interviewing the companies. It used to be where the company interviews the pilot to see if they're, you know, the right person that they want, and basically the pilot's begging for a job. It's not that way anymore. It's turned into more of the pilot interviews the company, or the chief pilot, if you will, to see if they want to go to that company, because there are a lot of jobs out there that are looking for good pilots, and we're one of them. We're looking for a couple of new pilots with Alarion. We picked up a few new airplanes to manage. So we also, you know, it's not like we're going to accept any person off the street that's willing to take the job. We're still looking for high quality pilots as well. But at the same time, they're interviewing us to see if they want to work for us. So that's kind of my indicator that they have options. You know, it's not like they have to take the first job that they get because there's only a few and far between kind of situation. There are a good amount of jobs out there looking for pilots. So yes, I do believe it's real, and I do believe it's going to get worse. I saw something about the airlines the other day, and I don't want to quote numbers on this, but there was something like hundreds and hundreds of pilots every year for one company that were retiring. I think it may have been UPS, perhaps. Don't quote me on that. But these companies, they're losing pilots by the hundreds due to retirement age limitations, and they've got to fill those positions. So yes, I do believe there will be a lot of jobs out there here in the very near future. So let's see here. Somebody's telling me that it's most likely a fox or a dog with mange in my front yard. So we'll see. Somebody's asking me about a Barron crash in Delaware. I haven't seen that one. I'm going to have to look that one up. I didn't see anything about that one, in fact. So I can't help you out there. Why didn't you stop your trip to Oshkosh and Gary and jump on with Citation Max's M2? That actually almost happened. Who is this? I'm not sure who this is. SQ Vision. I actually did talk to Citation Max on my drive up to Oshkosh, and I went right through Gary basically. And so I almost stopped in Gary and spent the night and waited for him the next morning. The only reason I didn't is because the time limitation getting into Oshkosh the next day. Citation Max, when he was going into Oshkosh, he wasn't allowed to land until I think it was 9 a.m. So by the time we got to the show, it would have been 10 a.m. And I wanted to be at the show first thing at 8 a.m. So I would have lost 2 hours at the show had I rode with him up there. It would have been an awesome adventure, and part of me wishes I had done it. But I really wanted to get every second at the show that I could get. So that's why I went ahead and drove on up and just did it that way. So that was the reason behind it. But I did get to hang out with a lot of the guys, Citation Max, Baron Pilot, Premier One driver, several more that I got to meet up with while we were there. It was a really, really great event. If you guys missed the video, definitely check it out. Unfortunately, I only got one day, but next year I'm going to get more. I'm already saving up my vacation for next year. That was part of the issue, is I didn't have any vacation saved up to where I could put in vacation time for the Oshkosh event this year, but I will next year. I'm saving up for it. Let's see here. Somebody says call Dale Jr. If I had his number, trust me, I'd give him a call. I've only met him a couple times. I actually ran into him at Outback Steakhouse in Daytona one time. One of those deals. I didn't want to bother him while he was eating dinner, but I heard he's a really nice guy. I've met him once at a race, but they always put on their happy face for the public, I suppose. So you never know. So let's see here. People all over the place. Somebody in San Diego checking in. Let's see here. Ethan's asking, I think I remember you saying you didn't flight instruct for long, but do you have any advice for CFIs on building flight time quickly and efficiently? Thoughts on master's degree for pilots? Let's start with the second one there. Thoughts on master's degree. I actually started my master's when I was flight instructing at Riddle. And to me, it's not a huge thing. If you want to add a side business, an MBA or something is not a bad way to go. But as far as being a pilot, I don't know that having a master's is really going to give you a leg up in the industry. Somebody will probably tell me I'm dead wrong on that, I'm sure, but I don't feel the need in my position to go out and get a master's degree. I don't feel like it would do me a ton of good at this point in my career. So we'll see what time will tell, but that's where I am right now. As far as the flight instructing, I did flight instruct for a good amount of time. I built 2,500 hours of time flight instructing. I started out flight instructing at Embry-Riddle, and I was doing around 800 hours per year. I think my peak one year I got like 950, just shy of 1,000 hours of flight instruction time in 1 year. So I was building time pretty heavy, and it did great for building my total time, but I didn't really get any cross country time. I didn't really get any good IFR time. It was just total time. So with that respect, getting the quality time sometimes is more important than just getting the total number. So something to think about as far as just building that time. There are a lot of jobs out there where you can just get in the right seat of, say, a King Air or something like that, and you can build some right seat turbine time, something like that, and that may be a good way to go. But flight instructing is a good way to also build time. Like I said, I did it for probably 5 or 6 years, something like that. And it's still active. I actually need to renew it here in a couple months. So I still use it every now and then, get out and, go dust it off and do a little flight review or something with a friend, something just to keep me going. But maybe someday I'll get full-time flight instructing again. But right now, not really a need. Let's see here. Richard's asking, what's your opinion of the Boeing MAX situation? To be honest, Richard, I really don't have a whole lot of info on that. I don't follow the 7.3 too closely. I know it was a huge thing several months ago, but right now, to be honest, I haven't followed it well enough. It doesn't say Gulfstream or Hawker on it, so to be honest, I'm not paying too close attention to it. So I can't help you out too much there. Let's see here. Lee's asking, are you rated on any more than the G4 and Hawker? Is there a legal limit to the number of type ratings you can hold at one time? I am not rated on anything other than those two. I have a type in the G4 and the Hawker. There's no limit to the number of type ratings you can have. There are guys out there that have dozens and dozens of type ratings, but the FAA doesn't want us to fly any more than 2 at a time for a charter company. So, for instance, if Alarion were to say they want to throw me into the Citation 10 or whatever, just another airplane, I would have to give up either the Hawker or the G4 while I was flying that airplane. So, yeah, they don't want us to fly more than 2 at a time, but we can have as many type ratings and we can stay current on, really, and as many as we want. Legally, there's no limitation there. So, Jody, what's the next Tech Tuesday going to be about? You'll have to see tomorrow. But no, I'll give you a sneak peek on it, or I'll give you a spoiler on it. We changed the windshield on one of our Hawkers last week. So I got a little video of the process changing out the forward windshield, the co-pilot's windshield. So I got a little footage of that, and that's going to be up tomorrow morning. I'll be releasing it first thing tomorrow. So I actually recorded it last Tuesday, thinking I was going to put it out for last Tuesday, but the process took a little longer, and I didn't get it all done last Tuesday. So that's why you got what you got for last week. But yeah, tomorrow will be the windshield. Let's see here. This is a good question, Sander. With 2 captains or 4 stripes in the cockpit, who has final authority? Pilot flying? ? Not necessarily. That's not really. The pilot flying has nothing to do with the final authority of the decision-making process in the cockpit. Before we take off, and actually when the trip gets released to us, there's a PIC and a SIC assigned to every trip. As you guys have noticed, we fly very often with 2 captains in our corporate airplanes. It's very normal in many corporate flight departments to have 2 captains. So usually the company assigns it, or sometimes the pilots say, hey, he's going to be PIC or whoever, but it's always on the paperwork. It tells us who's PIC and who's SIC. The person listed as PIC has the final authority of it. Now, let me give you an example. I've been flying a little bit with Brian, our chief pilot here at Alarion. He's the chief pilot. He's the top dog as far as the line pilots go with Alarion. But when I fly with him, a lot of times they list me as PIC, even though he has the rank in the company, if you will. And to be honest, he has more time in the Hawker than I do. But they usually list me as it, partially for paperwork reasons. He doesn't want to deal with paperwork, I think. But ultimately, if there were to be a disagreement, I doubt there ever would be between Brian and myself, just because we get along really well. The way we look at things in the cockpit is very similar. But if there was a decision that had to be made and we disagreed on it, technically, I would have the authority to tell him, no, this is what's going to happen. So hopefully it never gets to that point, but we shall see. So when do we get to see Nikki again? I like fun people. Nikki is a blast. She's really cool. She's out in California, so the G4 out there is getting a little bit of maintenance done on it. It'll be down for another month or so. So I don't know when I'll get to fly with Nikki again. Hopefully soon, but I just don't have an answer for you. As soon as I can get some more Nikki footage, I will. She'll be glad to hear that you guys are asking about it, though. So let's see here. Signature Flight Support or Atlantic Aviation? Ricky the pilot asking this one. That's tough. They're both really good companies, and we get great service from both at almost every airport we've been to. The big thing that I lean on is Atlantic bucks. Atlantic has a really good reward system based on the fuel that you buy. So if you buy, hundreds or thousands of gallons of fuel, you'll end up getting a few dollars back into this account they give you. And at the end of the year, you get to spend some money. They both do it, but Atlantic has, I'm going to guess 4 or 5 times more rewards based on the fuel. So that's why I like Atlantic, but they're both great. We operate in and out of both quite a bit. So let's see here. What about an aspiring pilot with no college degree? Is that an issue? No, it's not an issue. A lot of companies like to see a college degree, not for any legal reason, just because it's kind of traditional probably, but there's no reason that you couldn't become a full airline pilot or, corporate pilot, anything of the above with no college degree. So no problem there. But like I said, in the interview, they may ask, how come you don't have a college degree? You may have to answer for it, but if you have the right personality, it shouldn't be an issue at all. So let's see here. Came in late to this talk. Jack came in late to this talk. What's the big news? I'm not going through it again, Jack. You'll have to watch from the beginning when it starts over. There, I'll give you the rundown. Merchandise sales on the list. I gave a shout out to a couple guys, Jet and Clyde. I'm the director of flight, the safety program manager. G4 versus Hawker. I like the G4 more. Instagram video. Go check out my Instagram video. Jack, there you go. There was a redo of the early information. Let's see here. Michael, can I talk about bleed air? I am planning to do a tech video to show the bleed air system on these airplanes a little bit more. But basically, bleed air is high pressure air coming off of the engine's compressor section. These engines have multi-stage compressors, 12, 14 stages of compressors to compress the air down. It's just an internal combustion engine, the old suck, squeeze, bang, blow kind of situation. But during the squeeze portion where it's squeezing the air down, we can tap into that and we can use that high pressure air for other things in the airplane, such as the pressurization. That's the number one thing. That's how we pressurize at high altitude, the inside of the cabin. Also, we use it for things like warming the wings, because that air is very hot when it gets pressurized. So we can pump that out into the wings on the leading edges and also on the cowling of the engines. And that's how we can remove ice or prevent ice from building up on those things. So that bleed air has multiple uses. And like I said, I'm going to do a little video on it here real soon. I'm not sure if it'll probably be the G4 because it's a little bit cooler of a bleed air system than the Hawker. And I think we have a G4 that's getting a little maintenance done in Palm Beach right now. So I can get up into the back and show you guys some of that fun stuff. So stand by for that. Let's see here. Beach Bum's asking if I've ever made it to Alaska. I've been to Anchorage a couple times, never spent much time there, just a couple days. Brian is supposed to be going here real soon up to Alaska. I was hoping to go with him, but it doesn't seem that's going to happen. So I hope he has a great time without me. He's going to be up there fishing and doing all that fun stuff, but oh well. So let's see here. ADSB updates for my fleet. I think we only have one or two airplanes that haven't had the ADSB out put in. And I think it's scheduled for here in the next month or so. If it's not done by the end of the year, it's not going to be flying. But I'm pretty sure we're almost to 100% fleet-wide ADSB compliance. So yeah, we're almost there. Do I ever see G1s anymore? There used to be 2 G1s in Palm Beach that were flying. I think it was flying like every day to the Bahamas and back twice a day or something like that. I can't remember the number, but I would see them all the time in Palm Beach, but I haven't seen them in maybe a year or two. So I don't know if they're still operating, but cool old birds, just really, workhorses. So hopefully they're still out there moving around, but they're getting few and far between. That's definitely for sure. Let's see here. Somebody's asking, do you plan to mix in more off-flight shots into your videos? Yes, I've been trying to get better about doing more of the off-flight stuff. I'm bad about it. I know, terrible, but I'm trying to get more of the adventure side of the life. So stand by to get a little more of that. I'm working on it. Stay on me about it. If I don't do it, keep yelling at me and I'll make sure it happens. So let's see, exploring cities and landscapes. Yep, that's exactly what I'm trying to do. So. And Alarian does not have a problem with that. So just so you know, it's nothing to do with that. It's just pure me not doing it. So let's see here. More comments about Nikki being great. Go, Nikki. Yeah, we miss Nikki. Let's see. Philip is asking to do a tech video on the HUD in the G4. Not all G4s, actually not many G4s have a HUD in it. I don't think any of ours do actually. The HUD systems didn't really come out real heavy into corporate jets when the G4 was being produced. So it was kind of a later thing. The G450s and G5s and things like that typically have the HUD, but yeah, we don't have any to do on right now, but maybe sometime I can get a HUD video. The simulator that I learned on when I was at flight safety for a couple of years, that one had the HUD in it, so I did get to play with it quite a bit, and it was really cool to be able to use it. I used to shoot ILSs with it all the time, again, in the simulator, and you could take it right down to the ground using the infrared vision through the HUD, and it was really cool. So someday I'll get to do it in the airplane, but not yet. Let's see here. Phenom 300 still your favorite single pilot jet? Yeah, probably. If I struck the lottery, you guys would never hear from me again, and I would go buy a Phenom 300 and go fly it around. I take it back. You'd probably hear from me still, but it would be in my own Phenom 300, probably something like that. Let's see here. The difference between a G4 and a G200, Terrence. Huge difference between the two. The G200 is, I hesitate to say not technically a Gulfstream because Gulfstream owns it, but the G200 is actually produced by an Israeli company. So Gulfstream bought the company out and put the name on it and everything. But the G200 started out as the Galaxy years ago. It's a much smaller airplane. Like I said, not quite the status of the G4 or any traditional Gulfstream, I should say. I'm trying not to offend anybody here that flies the G200 because it's a great airplane. Presidential, who I used to work for, had two of them, and they worked great. They operate all very well. But in my opinion, it's not quite the status of the G4 or G5, anything like that. So let's see here. Lots of questions down here at the bottom. People are asking about the tail number thing. I've kind of gone through this before, but the tail numbers have to be edited out from my videos right now. Alarion it's not really that Alarion wants it to happen. It's just a contractual agreement that Alarion is requiring. So we're working on a way to not have to edit out the tail numbers and the call signs anymore. But for right now, that's the way we have to make it happen. So bear with us until we can come up with a long-term solution to not have to do that. So let's see here. Is there a speed limit while taxiing around? My kids asked me on our last trip. That's a really good question. There's really no speed limit on the taxiways. Nothing that's, to my knowledge, is an official speed limit for taxiing. But we usually stay 25 knots ground speed, something like that, while taxiing. Obviously, if there's a lot of wind, gust, things like that, you may have to slow it down a little more, take your time. But typically somewhere around 25, maybe 30 knots of ground speed while taxiing is appropriate. But it's one of those things you just kind of get used to as you fly more and more and taxi more and more. You figure out the comfortable speed to taxi around without putting anybody in danger or anything like that. Obviously, if you have to slam on the brakes and everybody goes, their drinks go flying and things like that, everybody needs to be sitting down with their seatbelts on. So, nobody should be bouncing around back there. But still, we want to keep it under control and make sure no damage is incurred. Have to make a hard turn while taxiing fast, something like that. So let's see here. Any plans on the company moving into a G550 or a 650? Not that I know of, but I sure hope so. Alarion, if you're watching, G550, G650, please, pretty please. Let's see here. Can I comment on the most famous person you have flown? No, sorry. Couple people asking about Presidential 69 and John. I haven't talked to them, to be honest. I don't know how they're doing down there. I did chat with Francine maybe 2 weeks ago, and she said everybody's doing well. It was a weird situation driving down the freeway, and I saw Francine. I recognized her car, so chatted with her for a couple minutes, and they all seem to be doing well, but I haven't talked to anybody on the airplane. So yeah, let's see here. Somebody's asking, is there a push to raise Part 135 standards to be more in line with Part 121? Many of them already are. Let's see, this is coming from Tommy. A lot of the regulations are very similar between the 135 side and the 121 side. There are obviously a few discrepancies between the two, and the charter operators and the 135 operators don't want to get more like 121 because a lot of it puts more restriction on them. So it's one of those things that if we can stay safe, get the job done, don't make the FAA mad, I think it'll stay the same for right now. But if people keep flying dangerously and things like that, the FAA is going to crack down and put more regulations on us. So we will see. But I think for right now, I haven't heard of any push on that regard anyway. So let's see. Kenneth is asking, are the windscreen glass hard to remove in an emergency? I don't know that it would be possible to get the windscreen out of one of our airplanes in an emergency situation. There is a crash axe on the airplane, but I don't even know if you could chop your way through that acrylic. That stuff is really thick. You're going to see in the tech video tomorrow how thick the acrylic is on those windscreens, and I don't think you can chop your way through it. I've heard of people taking old windscreens out in middle of nowhere and shoot at them with large caliber guns, and they're practically bulletproof. You need a pretty large round to get through those thick windscreens. So, in an emergency situation, going through a windshield is not what you want to do. You're going to have to go through a door or chop your way through the metal of the side of the airplane. And that's really what the crash axe is for, is to chop through metal, not so much the windows. So hopefully never get in that situation, but if we do, let's be prepared. So let's see. Maybe one or two more here. Several people still asking about the Dale Earnhardt crash. I did talk about that one earlier on. For you guys checking in late, you can go back and get my thoughts on that one. So Nils asking, may have missed it, but who was in the right seat when I flew to Oshkosh? It was one of our company pilots, really nice guy. He didn't really want to be on video, so that's why the camera angle was not what I wanted it to be on that video. I know it wasn't you guys' favorite. It certainly wasn't my favorite to have the cockpit video aimed way over, kind of like over my shoulder almost at the screens. So it's one of those things that I'm trying to work with people's preferences and things like that. So I apologize for it, but we're making the best of what we can when I'm flying with people that don't really want to be on video. So holy cow, Daniel, greetings from Afghanistan. Man, it's a long ways off. I don't know what time it is over there, but it's got to be the middle of the night or something. So all right, guys, I appreciate everybody's checking in here. I'm going to get flying next week. I think as of right now, I don't have any flying going on for the next few days. Getting some stuff caught up on around the house. So next week, I'm going to get back in the airplane. I've got a video coming out here in the next few days. I think you guys are going to like this one. This is a G4 video with Gus. I think it'll be out in the next 2 or 3 days. And it's a full flight video from takeoff to landing. I did have to edit out just a couple of minor things, obviously the tail number being one of them. So if you want to see that, it'll be out here in a couple days. Definitely subscribe if you haven't already, and you'll get a notification for it. And like I said, tech video will be out tomorrow morning on the windscreen change. So hopefully you guys enjoy everything we put out, and keep the comments coming, and we will talk to you guys soon. Keep living the corporate pilot life. See you guys.